every day. Now, I know there's a lot of things going on in the world, but to compare ourselves to living in a multidimensional world is something that I think we all can just play with our brains a little bit and learn a little bit from. So I'm very excited to have you here today, Elaine. Welcome to Jess FM.
Thanks, Deb. It's great to be here.
So just to get people affiliated with you, can you tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into some really interesting conversation here today, guaranteed. And then we'll have, again, with Deb's Den, we always have a meditation at the end. Stick around and wait for that. So.
All right. So, well, for background, there's a few different elements. So, I'll just break it up into sort of segments or sections, I guess.
Yes, that's how we do it.
All right. So, there's the educational background. So, I have a BSc in psychology, and I have a master's in sport and health psychology. Mm-hmm. And so, I really like I've always liked the research end of things, the information, all of that. And then, as far as work is concerned, I did teach at the University of Lethbridge for 11 years. I was contract in the kinesiology department, and worked at a number of other places as well. And kinesiology, yeah.
Okay, we're going to need to talk about that a little bit.
Okay. You might be thinking applied, which is like, the energetic version. This is study of the movement of the body.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, you were doing that. Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm currently, I have my own business called Discovery Consulting, mm-hmm. and it has sort of three main streams. And so one of those streams is in the fitness industry, so that's one. And then the other one is I'm contracted through a national company called Chappelle that provides a number of things, but I'm a wellness facilitator. And then probably the one that's most relevant to today's discussion is that I provide counseling services and workshops and courses in the intuitive well-being, communicating with your spiritual entourage area.
Right. So that's kind of sound like the metaphysical part of things. You do the physical part.
Yes.
You understand that, how that works. But there's also another part of the body, which is the metaphysical, which is a little bit more difficult to understand. Elaine is going to be teaching a course. Is it next Saturday? The 22nd?
22nd.
Yeah, so that's next Saturday from 10 till 5.
Yes.
At the Lethbridge Spiritualist Center at 425 11th Street South. So if you're interested in that, there'll be a link left in the show afterwards if you want to get in on this amazing course. It's just a day seminar course type of thing, and I know Elaine was doing some speaking at the center a couple Sundays ago, and I know you like to engage, so that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. That speech was exciting. So so good to have that here. So let's start with I think that's good that you have all this great background, and I know that it's kind of strange when I'm seeing you. I thought, you look familiar, not knowing that we probably go back to elementary school.
Yeah, it's always interesting how the world works. Right?
Yeah, because I went to St. Joseph's too way back in Coolidge. It's kind of interesting because he was all about the dreams and stuff. St. Joseph was the dreamer, right? So let's talk a little bit about this multidimensional living, because that's what we're here for. So maybe try explaining that to me, because I'm really not too sure what we're going with there.
Well, you're probably living it. And one of the main elements, there's a number of elements relating to the concept of what does it mean to live your multidimensional self on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of, and science has done this to some extent, where we've separated out the parts of ourselves, right? So as you're mentioning originally, the physical versus the metaphysical, and when you look at wellness, we talk about the physical and the spiritual and the emotional and the mental and the environmental and the social and all these different parts. And so they are all elements, but then putting that all together and coming from that perspective. And so part of it is being aware of oneself as an energetic being, right? That first and foremost, we are energy.
Yes.
And part of it expresses in a human form, right? We have a biological being that typically people can see or sense in some way. They can feel it, they can hear it, all of those kinds of things. And however, when a person incarnates, when they come to have the human experience on this plane, there's an energetic part of ourselves, and you can refer to that however you like. There's a lot of terms.
Essence.
You bet. Core essence, spirit, higher self, inner self. There's probably
The soul, yeah.
Sure. There's a number of terms in regard to that energetic portion of us that is in other dimension space. And so a portion or a percentage or however you want to define that, comes and expresses as a human, right? It has this part of the experience. But there is always a part of us that is in other dimension space, and that part is connected to all. Okay. Once again, however one wants to define all, right? Tons of terms.
So God, some people would say that God is all being, right? It's in every single thing, or the creators and everything.
Source energy, the universe, whatever it might be. So different other dimension beings as part of that all. Again, however a person wants to define that, that's great.
Right.
And so more so being aware of that part of you and that connection, right, to yourself, higher self, inner self, core essence, and all, on a consistent basis. Traditionally, we sort of separated it out. When a person went to church, or if they meditate, or if they, in certain circumstances, they may have an awareness of that part of themselves. And that's great. I mean, that's great. But I
understand that.
Right.
That concept of being.
Right, exactly. And I think we're moving more into having an awareness of that connection at all times and functioning from that space. And often how that translates, so people typically have heard the term synchronicity, right?
Oh,
yeah. Synchronicity. We like to use it when it means positive things have lined up. Like, wasn't that synchronistic? I was thinking of so-and-so and they called, and look at that, right?
Things fall into place, right?
Right.
I like that with green lights.
There we go. Exactly, right?
Send it out there, I want green lights and the best parking, always.
Yeah, and so that's
and that happens.
You bet. It can be very practical. It can be on a more sort of etheric level as far as what is actually in sync, what synchronizes. And what that suggests is that when things line up that way, and especially with our awareness, but even if it's not with our awareness, if they're lining up, then you are congruent. You are tuned to yourself, to all, right? And that is how it's expressing in your experiences in the world around you. Now, it's also synchronicity, but we don't like to think of it as synchronicity. When we're focused on, let's say, negative things, and that's what our experiences are.
What you think about, you bring about, basically.
Yeah. And
I tell people that all the time.
You bet. And once again, we have many sayings for so what you expect, you get, and what you focus on is what you see, and all of those kinds of things.
Whatever vibration you're putting out is a vibration you're going to receive.
Right. So there's all these wonderful sayings around that talk about that. But we don't want to think of it as, I somehow am emitting that, I'm vibrating that, and that's why that's in my experience. I'm actually being synchronistic in a way because of my focus. I'm not synchronistic in that I'm aligned and from that space having this experience, but it is based on what I have been focused on, right? I've been upset, I've been angry, and so then now all of a sudden I notice that those people are arguing. It's annoying. But, in that moment, I might not be aware of that I am upset, right? And the creating thing, to work with that lightly and loosely, and not really seriously in the sense that, because that whole concept of You create your reality. There's truth in that. However, people then use it to beat themselves up.
Well, there's a lot of other people involved too when you're trying to create.
Well, it's not even, yes, that is certainly an element, but once again it comes back to the focus of self. What are you focused on? Are you focused on what is going well, what is good, what is right?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you focused on what the problem is, where something needs fixing, those kinds of things? And then that tends to show up as far as where's your focus, then that tends to translate into your experiences. And the people, then you experience that about them. Right?
So it's an idea then with training ourselves to be in that focused zone, which is that multidimension we're talking about, right? Is that what we're that if our spirit is not in the dimension of our body, then our spirit should be capable of achieving greater things than what our body can.
Yes and no. So yes, but I know I'm so like no. It's typically not.
I'm just asking a question.
No, this is good stuff, right? And training was a really good word. I'll come back to that in a moment. Or hopefully we're going to come back to that in a moment. But and yes, actually our body can do amazing things. And so it's not about necessarily transcending the body, because if the whole purpose of coming here is to move beyond the body, then why come here? Why have that experience? Like,
exactly. Why would we need our body if we didn't have something to learn from it?
You might as well. It's not even so much learning. It's experiencing the senses. It's the spirit experiencing through senses. And that's part of being here. And so the philosophy, and maybe there are beings that come here and their goal, their thing is to, let's see, can I come to spirit and can I still make as if I'm in another dimension of space while in a human body? So maybe that's part of the thing.
Well, they say that some races, I know I study a little bit about aliens and stuff, that's what they come here for, is to help other people rise up.
Yeah,
but they are high. They say that they are higher dimensional, even like with the negative blood types.
Right.
You know how they say that those people with the Rh negative have more sensory perception. They can see into the future. They've got different traits in that type of human that are just a little bit different than the rest of the humans.
For sure. And this brings it into a whole other discussion. Again, I think today is just going to be like pieces of things, little smatters.
Well, you're going to have to take the course here if you want to get it all straight. Yes.
So, but absolutely. But I think sometimes in the wording of their higher, then we often think as humans we're less than, and that somehow there's this big plan, and that we're here to just learn and catch up.
Hey, that sounds about right.
And it's not.
Oh no, that's wrong.
There's the Hermetic axiom that people may have heard about, and it's as above so below. And an element of that is that you don't just come here to follow some big plan and like I said, that you just got to fall in line and figure it out. You're here to experience, and as we evolve, that has an impact on other dimensions. This isn't some separate place unto itself completely, where there's no movement in both directions, if you want to think about it as directional. Where as we evolve, as we expand, then that vibration, that energetic lends itself to things that are happening on other dimensions, and vice versa. But if we always see ourselves as, we're just human and we're unevolved and yes, if we want to compare to certain other races of beings that aren't necessarily on this plane, that have access to this plane, then yes, it's different. We're different. And do we engage in certain behaviors that might be perceived as being less than or unevolved, or sure, depending on the perspective. Because again, you can kind of take this and all of this into a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
But what the disservice that does by looking at the human or the self as less than and needing to catch up with other dimension plans is that we often then negate or we don't fully use the resources that are available to us from other dimension space, from other dimension beings, to the extent that we could. And because we're looking at them as a common term was guides, right? Spirit
Right, guides, angels, that's...
Sure.
I mean, we look to them for guidance with us and to help us with our lives.
Right, because we think they know better. They know different.
They have different access.
Yes, they have a different perspective. Mm-hmm. Theirs is tends to be much more 360. Ours tends to be, someone once likened it to being in a dark warehouse, which is just chock full of all kinds of goodies, and having a flashlight. And typically what the average person is aware of is whatever is in the beam of the flashlight. And that's typically where we function from. That's what we see, so that's all we can see. Not looking around, not looking up, looking down, looking behind, looking below, all those kinds of things, right? Whereas other dimension beings have that perspective. So we can work together to then create.
So what we're working on then is bringing our spirit to that level where we can create on that multi-dimensional concept of taking in everything around us instead of just focusing on what's right in front of us.
Kind of. So it's I'm trying. No, it's fantastic. So what one of the first steps is to be more aware, more aware of ourselves as energetic, the parts of ourselves and other dimension beings, all, again, however you want, a person wants to look at that, however they want to define that, and then from that space, allowing those energies to help us, to inspire us to then see, notice, observe those various elements, to put those into our view, our focus, and then we choose what we want to act upon. Right? Because the inspiration comes in. We don't necessarily...
So I think that, for me, I believe that, they might come and just give you repetitious thoughts in your head on, you should be going this direction, you better turn right, you better turn right, you better turn right, as an example. So then you said, you know what, I think I'm going to listen to my instincts and just go this way.
There you go.
So to me, is that like an example of listening to your inner?
Yes, because, and this is the hard part.
Which is sometimes you don't understand why it's telling you this, but you follow it.
Exactly.
And, and even that, I should give my mom a call, and then next thing, I shouldn't say that because she will call. She'll call during my show if I say that. We're very tuned in my family. To say something like that would be,
which is very cool. Right?
It's the way we were raised to always be thinking. If we wanted something, Mom would just scream it out in the air, and Brother John would come home with a bucket of chicken or something. We never used telephones. We just used telepathics, I suppose.
Absolutely, and that is totally possible. That's fantastic that your mom had the wherewithal and the knowing to continue to pass on that kind of communication.
We never needed cell phones in the 70s. We just screamed it out there and it happened.
That's fantastic. And one of the elements that you talked about, and that makes it slightly challenging as far as, like you said, so you're getting turn right, or, you know what, I think I should call this person. And because we want that inspiration, that assistance to sound like something else. And it often just sounds like us. It sounds like one of our own thoughts. So then people doubt it, right? So then they get into, oh, well, that's just me wishful thinking, or I'm just imagining, or I'm just making it up. And so they start doubting. It usually sounds like you. And so and often if it does sound like something else, people get freaked out. Then they think I need to be in a psych ward because there's this voice. I have voices in my head, right?
Sometimes, but only when I channel and I do that little bit of my head open up and bring them in, and then I hear them. Other than that, not normally. But unless I'm at where I'm trying to access them. Because I do work with mediumship also at the Spiritualist Center, and so this kind of is like right in line with everything we do, with knowing that there is more to life than just being in this human body, and just knowing that spirit lives on, or that the soul is not done at the end of life.
Right, yeah.
I'm in the physical body anyway. So this has helped to try to understand, because even though we're mediums and we can do this accessing of other people who've crossed over, it's still not clear on how this works. What I'm saying is that, it's difficult to explain, really, how does this work, that there are other dimensions.
Right, and usually because we're human, unless a person has had, whether that's through meditation, or sometimes people have it in a drug-induced state. It can happen. I'm not saying all drugs and that's the only way to do it and that's how it should be done or anything like that. I'm just saying it has
can be done without the drugs.
It has happened for people that maybe they've had that experience there, or like I said, meditation can be a very common way for that to occur, or someone's had a dream, or that it's just spontaneously happened where they have a sense of themselves connected and relative to a much larger whole, to more than just this physical expression of self. And sometimes without that sense, it's hard to then rationally imagine or talk about, well, yeah, there's this dimension, and then there's this dimension. And sometimes, you can Google, if something is two-dimensional, then it's
low vibration.
It's a line, and then if it's three-dimensional, now it's a cube, and if it's four-dimensional, then, and you go right from there. And so trying to rationally or logically wrap your head around that.
That's where I have a little difficulty on trying to figure out how, but with studies that I've done, each dimension, you have to almost raise your vibration to get to that dimension, because once you level up a dimension, I guess, that lower dimension doesn't have the access to you. As if once you're in the higher dimensions and you're living your life in a higher way of living and being and eating, those lower dimensions have a harder time getting into your life. Not saying that they don't, but
this is the thing.
The high idea of raising your vibration.
So the way you raise your vibration is getting in alignment. So the way to that whole concept of I can raise my vibration is actually becoming attuned to yourself and all. And the way you do that is to always reach for what feels best. That is your gauge. When you feel hopeful or optimistic, or it depends where you start, right? So as far as what's the next best feeling thing, that is bringing you into that attunement. When you start feeling doubt or pessimism or something,
anger even,
or something, and again, it depends on where you're starting, right? So as far as if you're depressed and you start feeling angry, anger is a good thing. You're heading in the right direction. But people get stuck because anger is bad. Anger is bad. So then people go, oh, anger is bad.
It's part of the process, isn't it?
We're typically not aware of how to, or we haven't really learned how to manage anger, how to express it well. So then we go back. It's like stuff that down. We go back into depression. And then we work our way in hopelessness. We work our way back up into anger, which has more. It's higher up. But then but if you can see anger as there's movement. And continue past it, continue to reach for what's the next best feeling thing. What's going to help me feel I'm angry? What's going to help me feel a little calm in this moment? You're moving back into the awareness of that attunement. And that's the space where inspiration can come. That's the space where things that you really want fall into line, synchronicities that you desire then start to appear in your reality, in your experiences. And the more you feel, you don't feel good, you feel bad, there's worry, there's anxiety, there's whatever it is, you're starting to pull out of that attunement and you're starting to make a story true that isn't. So for example, anxiety...
So what is your truth, really, right? What you're willing to accept is your truth.
Right.
Creating your own truth.
And your truth is really, who are you? Because everything is going to be relative to who are you and what do you believe? And that is your truth. and then you function from there. So it can change because your beliefs can change.
You learn something new. Yeah. Be open to learning something new.
We're meant to evolve. We're meant to expand. And so it is normal to change.
Right.
To change your perspective.
I would hope so, that people wouldn't just get on a plane and just think, I know it all. Some people I sometimes think that some people, when I see some of the comments, there's like, okay, don't even go there back. Because some people just think that they know everything. And if somebody knows more than them, then there's something wrong with that person that knows more. But to me, I just think, maybe they'll lighten up a little bit someday.
Well, and chances are, and that's their experience at that point in time.
Yeah.
That's where they're at. And even if that's where they're at, but they're still watching a program that has to do with, then it's like, there's something happening there. There's some openness, even though in the observance of it or in the reaction of it, it goes back to, no, don't want that right now. But the fact that there was a part of them that went, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to listen to that. Hey, fantastic.
Maybe at least maybe they're engaging.
If they want to,
yeah.
Right? And because one of the biggest things, and I think we're moving even more so toward this, is to really start to understand that no one makes you anything.
Exactly. Nobody makes you sad. Nobody makes you angry. You choose it.
And I know with Valentine's Day coming up, I mean, because this can be
yes, yeah, this is airing right now. We're live right now.
The live version of this, with Valentine's Day coming especially, but not only, that we often look to someone else, something else, some external, to make us feel, and we have so many, we talk about it that way, you make me happy, you make me mad, you make me sad. So we have given, and so when we talk about power means I have given you responsibility for how I feel.
Well, that's not very good, because you don't want other people running your life, and you actually just giving them the keys. Here you go. You can mess with me.
And most of us do that.
Yeah, because we allow that feeling to come in and stay.
You bet. Or we do it as a pleaser, right? So it's I'm going to go fix everything. I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to make sure everything's okay out here. I'm going to manage it out here so that I feel better, because the only way I can feel better is if it's out here. If everything's good out here, then hopefully that makes it better for me. But it's still a version of
Caretakers
that's
are
external.
Like that. Moms are like that. And a lot of times, I think moms want everything to be perfect for their kid.
Sure.
And then, they kind of strip the kid from learning their things a little bit, their lessons, because they're kind of living in a bubble.
Yeah.
So sometimes you gotta let your kids go through that and just feel it with them.
Right, and unfortunately there's so much judgment around that, because if you're letting your child explore and they fall down from the limb of the tree and they break their arm, but you let them do that, then often the judgment is,
you weren't watching.
You're a horrible parent. But yet that being has its own wanting of expression, wanting of experience, all of those good things.
Right. So that is a good feeling, and I'm just going to break in again and say that welcome to Jess FM. This is Deb, in case you're just tuning in now, and I'm with Elaine Jelgowski, and we are talking about living your multidimensional life, and we're here in Lethbridge, Alberta, and please tune in, please share. There is a course coming next weekend, from 10 till 5 at the Spiritual Center, and if you're interested, we'll leave a link in below. We have a couple more things here to discuss. I kind of want to know a little bit about dreams.
Right.
So, because dreams to me, that's pretty multidimensional too, because that's a really tough one for us to grasp that too, like what's going on in our dreams. It seems so crazy at times, and then at times it seems like they're prophetic, like they're showing you something that's happened, or feels like there's lots of different types of dreams for me anyway. I dream, vivid dream, astral travel dream, all those different levels. But being multidimensional from that point of view, what do you feel that a dream is? Or what is your belief? What is a dream?
Well, I think you I think you did a great job as far as, I would be in agreement as far as that there's many different types of dreams. Mm-hmm. And some of them are just your brain is restructuring, it's repowering, reorganizing, and if you happen to recall that you wake up at the right time and you recall those dreams, then they may be relative to some program that you just saw or some conversation that you just had, and it's kind of, restructuring in some interesting ways. And that
or falling asleep with something on.
Sure.
And then you follow along with that show.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean it still can't have some relevance to some sort of information or direction. I mean, it can still have that, but chances are if a person really starts tuning into their dreams, they will get a sense of, as you've mentioned, kind of the different types, and so what kind of meaning does it have? And so is a person, if it is sort of more of what a person might refer to as a prophetic, or kind of, having a sense of something that maybe hasn't occurred yet, but in that different space, while the person is dreaming, that maybe they're tapping into something that could potentially happen. So having that sense of, I think this feels like something, and it felt real, and I felt like I was there. And then there are individuals who have those types of dreams, and they dreamt it, and yes, and then it
manifested.
Exactly. Or where it is, you're connecting with someone, someone has passed, or someone, that one loves, or and they appear. And often a person might think, oh, well, that was wishful thinking, so I want them to be there. It's like, why not?
Why not be magical?
Why wouldn't they energetically appear, right? And in your consciousness in that state, or your subconscious in that state.
That would be subconscious thinking then, right? In your dream state, your subconscious is playing out videos for you.
Sure, yeah. Exactly. Tapping into different energetics, right?
Okay, so we're not just going to sleep and just moving on and going to the next dimension and just having your life in a totally separate multi-dimension. Because sometimes it feels like I have a whole other life going on, I'm going to barbecues and hanging out with friends that I used to hang out with, and, things are just different, and there's different people in my life, and I'm having lots of fun, feels real, and then I have to come back to this life. And sometimes it feels like, am I really leaving and going to another dimension when I sleep? Why not?
And who's to say that you might not be having a different version of this life right now, not even while you're sleeping.
Right.
So absolutely, and this is where it does, what you're referring to earlier as far as trying to get a sense of this whole concept of planes or dimensions.
Right, especially when you're a medium, like when you can see other people going on, and then, it's just a little flick of the switch to have it off and on.
Right, so when you start to try to think about, so could there be a number of realities simultaneously? How would that work? It's like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not, right?
Well, that's definitely where I'm at, is when trying to figure out how we can be living multiple lives at the same time. But yet, sometimes it feels like it could be true. Just when you go into a dream state and you realize that, everything's nice in that dream, and you're with different people in that dream, but yet you still have your family with you. But then you wake up and then you're back on this level and wondering, why is this the strong, harsh, it feels like, sometimes it does feels like there's more harsh things going on in this level. Like when you look at the news and you look at the stats and you look at things that are going on around, it seems like this can be a harsh level at some levels. And then you go into a dream state where, you're off on holidays and things are fun and, crazy stuff is going on, but it's interesting. But it's all happening in the same day, in the same mind, in the same body.
Right, different focus though.
Yeah.
Right. So the difference is in one of the big differences is in focus. So as you said, when so in the care and it's harsh and so where's the focus? And it is. I mean, relative to a lot of other planes, and if if a person does meditate or have other experiences, then a sense of themselves in that space, then it is kind of like slogging through mud here at times.
Yeah,
so,
well,
there is a certain vibration, and things are slower. We have time and space here, and so it does, depending on the focus and various factors relative to the individual. Are they attuned? Are they not? All those different kinds of things. It can be a very challenging experience to be in a human body, trying to express the self,
Right.
and especially with the very traditional thinking that something outside of me is responsible for how I feel. It makes it things become very fickle, or if one's relying upon the external, because everything has its own agenda.
Right.
And so if a person's expecting that you've got to do something to make me, whatever it is, happier, feel better.
Take your own
Life's
responsibility.
Life's tough, and that's often how it is. Yeah.
Just to stay focused on being responsible. I guess that would be responsible for yourself.
Aware and yes, and responsible.
I almost sneezed.
I have the red. Yeah, responsible for where your focus is. Responsible for what are you focused on, and what is it that you tend to look for, right? Is it all the things that are bad or that are wrong or in need of fixing, and this is we went, it became really popular sort of late 70s, 80s, 90s, into the 2000s, the whole self-help movement. And wonderful stuff, I think.
Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay.
Sure, and fantastic stuff to help with self-awareness. Again, we're evolving, we're expanding. So we need all this sort of, okay, so what's the next step? What's the next step? But we don't want to get stuck there on, you're broken and you need to be fixed. So you need to spend years in therapy, going through your childhood and figuring out, and I think we're moving beyond that, where it's like, yes, have an awareness if there's a curiosity, or the awareness that helps you to go, right, I can now release this, right?
Right.
Then fantastic.
I think that's the most part, is releasing.
Yes.
Releasing, I think, is probably the hugest growth that anybody can do, is releasing their past.
Right.
Forgiving themselves, forgiving everybody else, and just releasing it.
Yeah. And
surrender all of that garbage that you did or that other people did too. Just let it go.
Right. Not to fix. You don't need to be fixed. You're not broken. And I also go, well, no, because we've had decades of, hold on, no, there's something that needs to be fixed. You just need to, once you change this, then you can. And it's like, no, let go of this and just go ahead.
Yeah.
You don't have to sort of fix this before. No.
It's like waiting to be happy.
Yes.
When everything is in line, I'm going to be happy. Well, why don't you be happy and let things fall into line?
Because when you're in that attuned space, then you do feel good. And then that, you get to line up with that
just
same frequency out there.
Because patience is the key there.
Well, patience works with our time and space.
Yeah.
Right? So there is that element, and everyone has heard the example of the concept of gestation, and we're no different in that sense of, you don't plant something and then just expect it to pop out of the ground. We understand that there is a process for it to go from seed to seedling to whatever the plant's going to be, and that there are certain conditions, depending on that seed. We're the same, but yet we expect, it should just be like that, right?
Right. So it would be nice to just be like that, but fortunately we have the opportunity to learn and grow and help other people learn and grow too along the way. So it's better to be that positive person like Elaine or like myself when I do Deb's Den and those things, and just helping.
And there's something I'm going to come, because you talked about it before. You talked about training,
right?
And it's kind of coming up again in what you just spoke about, because sometimes people, when it's not immediate, right? And so sometimes people get frustrated when they've had their epiphany, they've had their aha, and things aren't just automatically different. And so a person starts to get frustrated with themselves. I must be doing something wrong because look, it's the same, or I'm doing the same thing, but I get it. So why am I doing the same thing? And so this is where, the working with oneself as a human and working with our physiology. And so I'll just briefly, if that's okay.
No, please do.
So our bodies are built for efficiency, right? So our bodies will, whatever we train it to do, right? So you used the term previously.
Training, yes.
Whatever you practice, whatever you train it to do, your body will get very efficient at doing that. It will not burn a calorie more than it has to. So if you've trained it to sit on the couch, it will not burn a calorie more than it has to sit on the couch. If you train it to run marathons, it will get so efficient at running marathons, it will not burn a calorie more than it has to run marathons.
That's
right? So the brain, being part of the body, works the same way. And there's a saying that, and so this is based on research, neurons that fire together wire together. So what happens is that, I'll start with the negative thinking. Let's say someone, whatever the circumstances are, they've gotten to the point where they tend to think negatively. So the parts of the brain where those thoughts reside, what happens is that the neurons, or the nerve cells in the brain, have little dendrites, little synapses on the ends of those, and there's a synaptic cleft. And across that, a little bridge can be formed. Chemicals can cross that bridge.
Right.
And so if we practice certain thoughts, that space actually gets closer together. Our brain helps us become more efficient at thinking whatever thoughts we practice. So we've trained our brain to think negatively. It doesn't judge. It just tries to create ease. So when a person wants to switch, they know that they tend to look at life as cup half empty, and they don't want that anymore. If they want that, then that's great, keep going. But if they want
that's working for you.
Sure, exactly. But if they're thinking, no, I don't like this, I don't want this anymore.
I think people are really opening up to that too. I think that they have an inner calling in them where they say, I need more. I need to learn more. There's something more inside of me.
Right. So if they want to make that transition, then what has to happen? Working with, so they may have had the epiphany, oh, I get why that particular belief, right, that sense of abandonment, why I always sabotage this, and they get it. But then they keep doing the behavior. So if they want to switch that, they know I get it. So what they then need to do is they have to start thinking, practicing different thoughts to then those synapses grow back to a normal distance, and new synapses where the new thoughts reside in those parts of the brain, they can grow closer together, so that becomes the easiest route. Regardless of what happens, those become the go-to thoughts. And there's often that sort of 21 days that's given from a physiological perspective for that to really start to take effect. It's just as if a person doesn't decide to go for, previously I used the analogy of couch to marathon, or let's go 10K. You don't get off the couch and all of a sudden go run a 10K. You might try.
Maybe. I don't know.
Exactly. Right? You train. You practice. It's the same thing with your brain. You have to train and practice. You don't just go from that thought to immediately you're thinking that thought. And some days you want to sit on the couch. Some days you want to keep thinking what's easiest to think. So it takes focus, practice, redirection. And that's the space, that transitional space that people get frustrated and they give up. And it's like, see, it's not worth it, right?
So
can't change.
With that, would you suggest, like what I suggest people do is to put an alarm on their clock that says, I forgive everyone for everything, I forgive myself for everything, and I love myself. Just because some people have a hard time forgiving people, they have a hard time forgiving themselves, I'll tell them to go for 40 days or 21 days or whatever with that, just reminding their brain every single day to maybe have that thought, just as a start that's just one of the practices I use, is having them have an alarm on their phone or writing it down on a piece of paper and putting it down on the mirror that, this is where I'm at, so that they're reminded.
For sure.
So that they don't easily slip back, especially people who have, a lot of negative in their life, and they have a hard time believing that they're going to get out of it. I tell them that they have to reprogram, or if they don't, it's going to be, that same thought's going to be allowed to continue. So that is my method of what I teach people to do, is to write it down, stick it on your mirror, or I have an alarm in the morning that says, hey, wake up, I love you, to yourself. And I think that makes a difference for people to get that connection going back in their head, and to respect themselves, or whatever their specific needs are that they need. I tell them to tell themselves that over and over. But that's, because I think it's easier said than done.
Well, because the done is however long it takes to reprogram, to practice something different, and hence the saying, easier said than done. Because the said is, I get it, but the done is refocusing, redirecting,
right.
And people often give up in that space. So absolutely, whatever is going to work for the person for reminders, fantastic. And as long as the reminders help them to feel better than wherever they are in that moment, then great redirection.
Right.
Because sometimes, there's a whole concept of affirmations, and so if
Yeah,
I say these things, but if a person says the affirmation, and it could be a lovely phrase, right? I love myself, or I am abundant, or whatever the affirmation might be, but they don't believe it, if they're just saying it, it creates resistance to that saying. So it's like, don't say that, don't. Only go with what you can actually say in that moment that helps you feel better. Maybe eventually you'll work up to, I'm abundant, and when you say it, you feel it and it feels good. But if you're just saying, I'm abundant, but really what's going on is I'm not, look at my bills, then it's like,
you're contradicting and you're
don't
stopping the flow.
Don't say that. Find another saying that you can get on board with, that you can feel, right? That feels okay. Right? And I know some people say, well, fake it until you make it. There is an element of that can be useful, but only if the faking actually creates, because if you're like, I don't feel like smiling, but if you start smiling and it actually helps you to feel better, wonderful fake.
Yeah.
But if you're annoyed and it's making you feel more uncomfortable, stop, right?
I don't know, the smiling kind of comes natural, I think. For me, it does anyway. Yeah. Zone out and smile. Teeth get cold. Okay. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah. So that's it's a difficult. I know that like the theory of relativity is like there's also different speeds of things. Like so, if you're in a lower dimension, things seem to be moving slower. As if you're in a positive area, things will be moving faster for you. And I think that has been proven with the realities of how things even travel as we go out farther from the core.
Sure, yeah.
That actually, if you're a little bit farther away from the core, you can actually move faster.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And even if a person doesn't, if it's like trying to grasp that on a rational level, everyone is capable of being attuned and having access to dimensions through that congruency of self to all. Everyone is capable of that.
And those are important words today to understand that everyone is capable of raising that vibration up. And everybody is capable, if you put it in your heart, and you put it in your soul, or wherever you want to call it, that light within you, if you bring that and expand it and believe in it, that you can create more happiness in your life. Is that where we're going with this?
Well, different wording, but close. Yeah, you bet. Everybody's going to have a slightly different approach, and that's all good, right? We're all very diverse.
And everybody has their own superpowers, too, I believe. Everybody has their own superpowers.
Yeah.
So the course, if you want to just give us a quick little outline on the course.
All right, I don't have my write-up on it. So, but essentially what it will involve is actually practicing, right? I mean, there'll be some discussion, some information, but actually practicing that ability, that sense of attuning, right? Being consciously aware of that contact with or connection with your, again, whatever you want to call it, core essence, higher self, and that sense of all, and potentially connecting with other dimension beings who may be around an individual, who are there to assist, to support, who are loving, and all of those wonderful things. And getting a better sense of, from that perspective, who are you, right? Who are you? And so in turn, what is your truth then? Mm-hmm. And where is your power? What is your power? And then how does that translate into living your dreams, right? To bring all of that together, and how to do that on a daily basis. Because really, and I think we really are moving in this direction where right now, for the most part, right, when good things happen, we treat it as if it's this fleeting thing that you just need to grasp onto, because it's not going to last. And we have sayings around it, like, it's not going to last, enjoy it while it can, that kind of thing. And because we expect that life is hard, life is tough, and every so often we have this reprieve where something good happens. So just take it in, because it's going to go away. Mm-hmm. And really, I think we're moving more towards where it's more of what we would call, the synchronicity that we like, where when something doesn't line up or something doesn't go well, mm-hmm. that's the oddity, that's the weirdness. That's when a person goes, Why didn't that happen? Like, why wasn't my parking space available? That's
that didn't happen. I must be off by like 10 seconds.
Right. But so really where it becomes the norm is for things to line up, for things to be enjoyable, for things to go well. And that every so often there's a course correction. That's a whole other discussion. But mm-hmm. where there's a course correction in regard to, okay, I don't like that. So now which direction do I need to head? Mm-hmm. Right? And then, okay, here I go again. Versus, and then I'm just waiting for that one blip, and then, right? Mm-hmm. Flipping that around like a photographic negative where it's like, and then, I get it. Okay, here we go. Course correction. I was heading this way, but now we need to go this way, right?
And I think sometimes that's just necessary in life.
Absolutely.
And sometimes things go the wrong way just because you need to learn that lesson, or you need to heal that part of your life. And just by having the tough times happen is actually just lessons to make you appreciate the better times and focus in on what you're going to go.
And it can be one way of looking at it. I'm really a lessons person, but if that works for the individual, if that brings them a sense of peace or understanding or purpose for their experiences, then fantastic. It's awesome. Great.
How are we doing for time here? I think we're about ready for, I know, I told you it would fly by. It does, it really does. And it's been a great conversation, and I'm going to have to watch it again, because I'm going to have to look at that multidimensional thing, and I'm going to have to take the course too. So, So we're at the point now where we're ready to do our meditation. So if you just want to relax wherever you are, if you're driving, maybe pull over, but I'm not sure how your meditation is going to go, so I'll let you go with it from here. This is Elaine Jalgesti. Jalgesti.
Yeah, you did well the first time.
I did well, yes. I should have left it at that. This is Elaine, and she is from Discover You Consulting. Discover You Consulting. If you're looking at that, and you have a website, or do you have?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Yeah, you can just put in Discover You Consulting or ElaineJagelski.com. I know that's
okay.
So if it's spelled out somewhere on here, then maybe someone can find it.
Yes, we'll put it in. It will be on the video, and we'll tag it inside.
And there's a Facebook page actually called Discover You Consulting as well.
Okay.
So like the page.
And we'll be putting it up on Jess FM from time to time.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Deb. This has just been wonderful.
It's fun. I love Jess FM. And thank you, Jesse Palmer, for giving us this platform, and thank you, Brett Cutforth, for being my sound and cameraman over there. Thank you for running the show. Okay.
All right. So we'll move into the meditation, and this meditation is about aligning or getting in tune with that core essence, higher self. Again, whatever you want to refer to that part of yourself that is in other dimension space, and if some other senses of energy or beings happen to show up, it's okay, go with it if you like. And so I encourage you, as we go through this, if you end up going somewhere else, so as I'm talking, if you find that you end up kind of heading off in a wonderful other direction go with it. Just trust yourself. But if you end up kind of heading someplace where it's distracting or you don't like it, then come back to my voice, all right? So just kind of, do what you need to with this. All right, so, and if you can, close your eyes. If you're somewhere where you can do that, that would be great, because then you can kind of cut out those external distractions and just focus on your breathing. So just start by taking some nice deep breaths, and as you breathe, you may want to add a count to the breath. So it may be something like breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4, and in, or whatever count feels comfortable and allows for that nice, deep, expansive breath. Right? So just focus on the breathing. If any thoughts happen to pop into your head, it's okay. Just acknowledge them. You'll attend to them later, and bring your focus back to the count of the breath. The 1, the 2, the whatever it might be. So just focus on the count of the breath. As you continue to breathe, if you can, try to spend 1 second longer or 1 count longer on the exhalation than on the inhalation. So if you're breathing out, in for 4, then breathe out for 5 or 6, so add 1 or 2 counts. And what that helps your body do is it signals your sympathetic nervous system that it's okay to relax. So with that particular breathing rhythm, you're helping your physiology work with you to relax even more so. So know that a portion of your energy still exists in other dimension space. And so initially, you don't have to continue to focus on the breathing. Envision, imagine, sense, or just intend that you see some energy, or sense some energy, or intend some energy spiraling up from around your feet, up and around your body in a counterclockwise direction. So just get a sense of the direction of that. Excuse me. So just focus on this energy swirling, doesn't matter what speed, up and around as it clears the energy around you. Knowing that you are protected, open up the area at the top or around the crown of your head. Use your breath to see that area just opening up and energy extending up and out. See, intend, envision, imagine that this energy is extending toward that part of you that exists in other dimension space, and invite that part of you to come towards you. And by all means, if you sense this part of you, or just have a thought that it's not above, it's in front of me, or to the side, or wherever it may be, go with that. Trust yourself. However it is, allow yourself to sense the connection between the you that is here and the you that is there, and know that you are one. Allow yourself to know that you can access guidance, direction, assistance, support, loving sensation through this connection at any time, just by thinking it, by sensing this connection, intending this connection. Choose to trust that it is always there for you. Spend a moment sensing the connection, Feel free to ask any questions that you may have. Trust what comes to you. Just allow whatever it is that comes to mind. Know that you can have this connection any time that you want, just by intending it, by imagining it, by sensing it. It doesn't have to be in a special time or place. It can, but it doesn't have to be, because you are always connected. It is your awareness of that sense of connection that may vary. Focus once again on your breathing and feel yourself fully present back into whatever space you are in. And if you have your eyes closed, feel free to open them and be fully present here now.
Thank you. And again, this is Elaine Elaine Tolkowski with Discover You Consulting in Lethbridge, Alberta. And if you would like to find out more information, please follow the links on this show and or look it up on the internet. And thank you for watching Deb's Den. And I will be back in a couple of weeks, I believe. And I hope everybody has a wonderful Valentine's Day. And to remember to be focused and focused on you and create your own reality. Create who you are.
And then with that, experience that creation with others. That's the yummy part. So Valentine's Day can be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so now that's a whole new
That
thing.
is.
But we're out of time, and we're going to let you go.
Teaser.
And maybe we'll do this again sometime soon. Thanks for watching Deb's Den. Have a great day. Have a fabulous weekend, and many good things to you.